Hi guys, it's Xanderfaulk here and welcome to my video response entry to MediaWorld01's sub contest. Now I am good friends with Andrew from MediaWorld, and as I can say, I was here to see him get to 100 subs, and congratulations Andrew, it's really good to know you've been beating me. Damn you. Anyway Andrew, congrats on getting 100 subs, you certainly do deserve it, and I'm here to respond to your very 3 questions to possibly win A-Team, Steelbook of Pulp Fiction, or some Tommy Cooper DVDs. Why am I doing a Russell Howard impression? I don't know, but let's get on. Now MediaWorld's first question was, name one of your favourite low-budget films, and this isn't really too hard for me, but it, for me, has to be Pontypool. Now, if you guys don't know what Pontypool is a very low Canadian low-budget zombie horror film. Now, practically, this is a film adaptation of a trilogy of books, which they're hoping to soon adapt, which I'm definitely looking forward to. And pretty much the reason why I think this is one of my favourite low-budget horror films is because it uses its budget well. Instead of relying on really good gore effects and zombie action, this film relies more on suspense building. Literally, there is barely any zombie scene in this. Like, pretty much the film is set in a radio station and the film does not leave that area. I mean, you do get to explore the actual radio station, but you never leave that area, and it gives you a really good sense of claustrophobia. The acting from the likes of Stephen McHattie, sorry for the cut, I had to look on the back there because I can't remember Jack, but the acting, especially from Stephen McHattie, is absolutely superb and definitely worthwhile checking out. The Pontypool is definitely, if you definitely really do like that suspense building atmosphere, that claustrophobia, there is definitely some zombie action in this for fans that are, you know, waiting for some zombie action. There definitely is some, but this is not the primary focus. It's the characters and the whole message the film brings along, because it's not your typical zombie virus attack apocalypse movie. I mean, you literally do not get to see outside of the radio station, and this time the zombies aren't really affected by some sort of rage virus or have been brought up from the dead. Pretty much they're infected with a virus of the language. Pretty much the English language gets infected, so certain languages can infect you, and then you just keep repeating them, and then you start eating people. That's the general gist of the film, but it's a really original and fresh take on the zombie genre, which is very different. But if you are expecting a zombie gore action fest, I would look somewhere else. But for me, this is one of my favourite low-budget horror films, because it doesn't do too little, it does as much as it can with its budget, and it simply achieves it to every level. Definitely can't wait for the sequels they're planning, so this is one of my favourite low-budget films. And now MediaWorld's second question is to name one favourite scene from any film. And I looked on my shelf, and again, I saw another film which many people may not have heard of, but it has probably one of the... What? See, this is what happens when you're a frickin' teenager. My favourite scene from any film of recent has to be The Loved Ones. Now, The Loved Ones is again another low-budget one I could have used for my first question, but it's still not, and it is definitely one of my favourites, but I think Pontypool was a more worthwhile choice. But still, The Loved Ones has probably one of my favourite scenes out of recent films. Now, pretty much, I'm not going to try and go into too many spoilers, but the whole scene is a pretty big spoiler, unfortunately. So if you do want to see this film and you've heard of it and you want to, I would suggest skipping this, which is kind of weird. But thankfully, MediaWorld has seen this film, so he knows the scenes I'm on about. So I could spoil it for him, but if you haven't seen The Loved Ones, spoiler alert. The main character, Brent, he has been tortured the entire night. He has been stabbed in the foot, he's been tortured, he's been beat up, he's been carved into his chest, he's had throat sawn on him, he's been beaten up, he's been cut, he's literally had his throat bleached so he can't speak. Pretty much, Brent's been through all of this torture through the daughter and father couple Lola and Daddy throughout the entire duration of the film. He has been through a lot. He is psychologically suffering a lot. And pretty much no one is gonna save him. And eventually they decide, hey, let's lobotomize him by drilling into his head and pouring boiling hot water through that hole into his brain. Talk about DIY. The scene starts happening when the father is drilling the hole through Brent's head, and it's getting really intense, going, oh God. I mean, he escaped before. In the first half an hour, he's escaped once, but he failed. He did every cliched horror thing and actually failed. And we all know through these torture films that the characters make stupid decisions and never actually kill their captors. I mean, tell me this, have you seen, I bet any film you've seen will have, like, a guy overcomes his captors and doesn't kill him straight away like you would in real life? I mean, you've tortured me, bitch. Actually, no, this is a Hollywood script. Yeah, I'm just going to leave you there to attack me later for the big finale. This does not do that. When he is drilling through his head, the intense music builds and builds, and you feel like something's starting to happen. Due to a razor he has, because he's a suicidal prick, he starts cutting through the ropes when they're drilling his head in, cutting and cutting and cutting, and he breaks free. The freaking music crescends. He smashes both of them away. He then... the music's getting exciting. Oh my God, it's intense. He's broke free. Let's freaking kill these crazy bastards. And what does he do? He gets his feet. He takes the knives out of his feet. He uses them as weapons. He cuts the ropes further. He stands up with a drill in one hand and a knife in the other. The crazy father's about to attack him. What does he do? He freaking throws the drill at the crazy dad's head, cuts a freaking huge scar down half of his face, and then proceeds to stab him in the neck repeatedly. Holy shit! Ooh, for a low-budget film, especially one about a torture film, which most torture films are pretty cliched and don't have scenes like this, it was one of the very first films in which I was like, yes! Do it! Do it! Do it! I was actually so happy that a smart decision was made. Take that knife and plunge it into that sick bastard's throat. I mean, for me, that scene was just so great, because I do get sick of films where the characters make stupid decisions, or there's just a scene that's so intense and so great, and you know them films where you're just waiting for a certain action to happen or a certain character to die, a la The Mist, and when it finally frickin' happens, oh, that feeling is just so good. And finally watching that sick bastard die in the way that he does. And I mean, he actually pushes him into the freaking cellar as a finale to his end of reign of terroring and torturing teens that displeased his daughter. So that is my favourite scene in one of my favourite films. If you haven't seen The Loved Ones, check it out. It's a great one. And now for MediaWorld's final question. What was my most surprising film thus far? Okay. Now, my most surprising film, you know, for the final question, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Now, the Planet of the Apes films are quite good. I like Planet of the Apes. I don't really like Beneath the Planet of the Apes. I didn't mind the third one. I don't remember the name, the time travel one, which everyone seems to hate. I kind of liked it. Didn't really like the rest. They then made Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, which was good up until the end. And eventually they decided, hey, screw it. Let's actually reboot the Planet of the Apes, but give a more realistic and a more explanatory tone, and just start off with a prequel, so just in case this doesn't work as a new rebooted franchise, we can always have this and then the original Planet of the Apes. So, Rise of the Planet of the Apes chronicles how exactly humanity got to the way it was to lead us on to Planet of the Apes. And pretty much, I went in with no expectations. A fairly good director, lots of good CGI, Andy Serkis playing the main role, who's fantastic. But the film is so surprising because of how great. It pays so many homages, the acting is great, the CGI is fantastic, the story plays out very well, the characters are well developed. I mean, this film is just so enjoyable and so entertaining in so many ways that it's far superior to the Tim Burton remake or even many of the other Planet of the Apes spin-offs or films or sequels. You have never felt as emotionally close to an ape as you have to Caesar. Wow. It's just mind-blowing how good of an actor Andy Serkis is. I mean, half of his roles, he's in a blue rubber suit, portraying a CGI character, and he can just bring so much emotion to them. It was very fresh, it was very new, they definitely added new elements, they were definitely going in their own direction with it, and I can't wait for the sequel. But there's also homages, they've thrown in lots of references. I mean, they have the, get your hands off me, the damn dirty ape. The characters you want to die, die. And it's a really good start. I would say, though, that there isn't too much action because this is the rise of them. And it's actually a more realistic, would you really think smart apes would take over the planet? No, they wouldn't. The reason as to why the human race does get extinct later on is definitely a more realistic one, a very interesting one, which I can't wait for them to exploit more in the sequel. For me, Rise of the Planet of the Apes was one of the most surprisingly flippin' amazing films of the year, with great cinematography, acting, story, and just overall a great reboot to the franchise. So, there we have it. Those are my 3 answers and responses for MediaWorld's 100 sub contest. So thank you guys for watching my video response to the sub contest entry, and thank you MediaWorld for watching this, of course, but then again, I am amazing. But for now, guys, until I upload my Red Lights review, because this is more important, let's upload this first, even though I've already finished my Red Lights review. But for now, this is Xanderfaulk saying goodbye.